Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm having this outside today. So, I'm juggling a few things. I'm repairing, you can see, I'm sorry, this is, I'm repairing the lattice work that I built 100 years ago. And we had some bad weather and the thing fell down and got broken. So I'm in the process of repairing it. But um, so I just wanted to hold this outside for a change and just really enjoy the day. We're going to be cooped up all winter long, and it was just such a beautiful day that I thought I'd share it with you. So here we are. And the other thing is that I want to give the example that it's perfectly fine. We don't always have to do our learning inside in a perfect studio. Um, it just never it doesn't have to be perfect. There's no perfect time, no perfect conditions for learning, just the ones that you're in right now. And so it's summer. I wanted to enjoy it and share it with you. So this is summer in New England. So the bush behind me is a rhododendron, and it's RHO, is how you begin it. And to tell you the truth, I've never been good at spelling it, so I'll put it in the comments in the description. But at any rate, here we are today, and today we're talking about how to speak more confidently in English. And that's always a difficult one for students. It's hard. There are so many people around the world who just have trouble speaking confidently in any language, in their own language. Speaking to people gets us all nervous inside, and we just don't know what to say, etc., etc., and we think they're going to make fun of us, and all those things that go through our heads. And that gets intensified when we're dealing with a language that we're not familiar with or that we're learning, and we're not comfortable in all the different situations that we find ourselves needing to speak it in. So this is such a great topic to deal with. So the way I'm going to approach it today is I'm not going to give you the standard, presentation tips. This isn't about that. This is about dealing specifically with another language, a language that is not our own, and looking at the things that we need to have in place in order for us to be comfortable speaking that language. And so I'm going to go through 3 areas here. So first, we're going to talk about how to prepare yourself. What are some things that you need to have in place so that you're always comfortable? Again, welcome to the imperfect world of nature and outside. So we're going to, what do you need to do to prepare yourself to get things in place so that you can be, so that you know that you're as ready as you can be at each level wherever you are in your language journey. And then we're going to talk about, there's 2 major situations that you're going to end up in and we'll get into those and some of the types of interchanges that you might have within those situations. My goodness. Helicopters. We were over near a hospital, and they do a lot of medevac things, so sorry about that. This is where I do my morning meetings every day, and it's a different pattern in the morning, but it's just so good to be outside. At any rate, so we'll talk about the different situations. There's the two basic, and then we'll go through the specific ones and how to kind of prepare for those. And then we're going to do I'm going to give you some things that you can do to help you prepare even more and to create the opportunities for you to just give yourself that little kick in the rear end and say, just do it. And, situations that would be easier for you to step out, to get the practice, to gain the confidence. So And actually, if you watch last week's live, the replay, then you'll get some good ideas as well. So this takes last week's topic from a different angle and on a different tangent. So, all right. So the first thing we need to do. So we're going to prepare ourselves. You need to prepare yourself. Okay, so what does that mean? Do you run around the block 12 times and do some push ups? Well, no, but you're going to do some mental prep work, you know, on your own time before before you find yourself in a situation where you have to all of a sudden. So you're not just thrown into the fray and hope that you make it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take a look at your personality. What kind of a person are you? Are you a person that gets energized from contact with other people, or does contact with other people drain you? So in other words, are you an extrovert or are you an introvert? And many people get those two confused, and this is important to know because um, you can be an introvert, but be very people oriented and love talking to people. So, being an introvert does not mean that you're shy, it just means that you get recharged by having the peace and quiet. So, in other words, introverts they wake up every day, and I'm an introvert. We wake up every day and we only have so many coins in our jar of energy, mental energy, emotional energy that we can spend. And every time we come in contact with people, we're giving out a coin, we're using up our coins. Okay. And when that jar is empty, we need to step away from the contact with the outside world, and we need the peace and quiet to recharge and to refill our coins in our jar. Whereas extroverts, they wake up with an empty jar, their jar is empty, and every time they come in contact with people and have conversations, etc., and are out in the world and in among people, their jar gets filled up. So it's just the opposite. It's a matter of how you get recharged. So that's important to know, because if you know that you are an introvert and you've only got so much emotional energy to spend, then you need to sort of be able to look through the types of situations that you're going to be in and what is going to be required of you in those circumstances as far as speaking goes and using your English, and how much extra energy does it take from you to use your English. How far along are you in the journey of becoming fluent? And so therefore, is it super difficult for you? Is it mildly difficult for you? Or is it much, much easier for you? So you really need to assess your personality and take a look at how much energy you're going to be spending so that you can plan to be fully recharged for those really challenging times when that energy is going to be required from you. So you need to look at that. And you also need to look at what situations, speaking situations, are you most comfortable in? Do you like to speak in front of a crowd? Do you prefer speaking one-on-one? Are you okay with a small group? Do you speak up in meetings? Things like that. What are the situations that you are most comfortable speaking in? And try to place yourself in as many of those comfortable situations initially that you can, so that you can build your confidence that way. So you really want to think about what makes you comfortable, and you also want to think about what makes you uncomfortable, which are the situations you really don't like being in when it comes to speaking English. The reason for this is that you can't avoid those situations, but If you know that you're uncomfortable in them, then you can take a look at the situation and you can say, okay, how can I make this a more comfortable situation for me? What can I do either ahead of time or in the moment to make myself feel more comfortable so that I have more confidence when it comes to speaking the English I know I'm going to have to speak? So there is preparation that you need to do, but if you do this stuff ahead of time, then you're really going to set yourself up for so much more success than you ever thought possible. So, the other thing, um, no, that's, oh yeah, the other thing about the experiences. So look at the ones you've been in that went really well and think about, well, why did that go well? What did I do that made me comfortable? What were the situations that made this go well, that made it work for me? And how can I replicate that? And also, what did not go well? What do I wish I could have changed in those situations? Do I wish I had more courage? Should I just have, let go of the fear? Things like that. And the other thing too, mentioning shy people, etc. I read a quote one time, and I was initially offended by it because as I said, I'm shy, and it said that I don't have it exactly, but that being shy is really just being self-centered, and essentially that you're shy, you don't like to talk to people, you're afraid to talk to people because of what they might think about you. It's all about you. My focus is all about me. People won't like me. I'll say the wrong thing. Me, I. And I had to look at that because like I said, I was really offended because um, I don't consider myself a self-centered person, and yet in those situations, when I did think about it, they did apply to me. And so one of the things that um, I would always find when I would look back at my experiences and things that I wish I had changed, ultimately they boiled down to, I wish I didn't worry so much about what others thought about me, and I wish I just spoke my mind. I wish I just made that contribution because at some point somebody else did, and it was the right contribution to make. And so I wish I had just spoken my mind and not worried. So that's one thing that I always wanted to change, and I did. I finally, once I had that concept in my head, um, that was a game changer for me. It changed everything, and that's not a problem for me anymore. Um, Clearly, I don't worry about what I say. I am who I am, and I'm just doing the best that I can at any given moment. And the fact that I'm even trying to speak another language to people whose native language that shows that I care, and it should show that I care to anyone who's not a mean person. So I just don't worry about it anymore. So I hope that helps you to overcome that shyness, because it's not a bad thing to be wary of other people and to take your time getting into a conversation. That's not a bad thing. um, in my mind, I'm not going to open up to you. I'm not going to, give you any insights onto who I am until I trust you, um, which seems odd. I'm speaking to, I'm speaking live to people that I don't technically know, but I know a lot about you because of why you're here. And so I trust that you're here for the information that I can give that will help you. So it does seem strange, but honestly, it's not a bad thing to not, be someone who just runs up to people and hugs them and, trust them and spills their guts to everyone. Just let's focus on let's keep in mind, am I reluctant to speak because the focus is on me, or am I reluctant to speak because of some other reason? And if the focus is on me, then let me get that out of the way and say, stop it. I'm perfectly, worthy of speaking at any time. So what else is the problem here? So that's a big thing. And it's important to go through. It can be hard. It can really be hard. Like I said, I was offended, but I had to look at it and say to myself, is my being offended, do I want to stay stuck in that? Or do I want to look at what they said and take a look, and is that true? Is it going to help me, etc.? So those are some ways that you can really kind of prepare yourself. And the other thing too is that, as far as preparation goes, what are some English speaking skills that you feel, number one, first of all, that you're confident in? Are you confident in your vocabulary, in your ability to at least have a lot in your vocabulary bank that you can use to hold a conversation? Maybe that's your strength. But or maybe you're great at grammar, or maybe you're great at the pronunciation, and maybe you're great at the pronunciation, but you're still really sketchy on the grammar. You need work on the grammar. So prepare yourself for these conversations by strengthening those skills that you feel as though you're lacking. Work on those, practice those, get better at those, um, as well as strengthening the ones that you're good at. Keep going with that. So fill in those blanks before you get into the conversations, so that way you won't have to be concerned that you'll say it wrong, and that will take a lot of pressure off of you. Now, I do want to say, and I said this last week, that so much of the time when we as speakers of another language, what we deal with is, we think that we have to be perfect, and we think that we're expected to be perfect, and that if we're not perfect, we shouldn't say anything. Well, the people who speak the language that you're trying are not expecting you to be perfect. They understand that you're trying. And so go with what you've got. Be happy with what you know. Even if you have to say, and I have given this advice before, just be straight about it. Say, you're still working on your English, so you'd love some help, in the conversation, or check with it. I feel like I said that wrong. Did I say that wrong? Or, you know, make it a subject that you talk about. Bring it into the conversation without dwelling on it, but just if you address it, then that takes a lot of pressure off of you. You will find that you'll be relieved, and it relaxes people, because then they don't have, there's a lot that goes on. You know yourself, if someone's trying to speak your language, that there's a lot that people think. Like, oh my goodness, she's really struggling and blah, blah, blah. But rather than help someone, we just keep going on thinking those thoughts. Whereas if you just address it, it just puts it out in the open, and people are happy to help. So that is one great tip on how to get your confidence, by taking all that pressure off of you. So these are some critical ways that to prepare yourself for the conversations before they happen. Obviously, you're preparing. Um, so that will help boost your confidence, because you know that you will be as prepared as you can be, and that you will have eliminated whatever you can eliminate that could go wrong. Okay. So now let's look at some situations that you're going to be in. Okay. So the two basic ones, you've got your business situations and you've got your social situations. So if it's not business, everything else is social. And some of those social situations, they might have a cultural significance to them, like the 4th of July is coming up, which is which is America's Independence Day. Uh, and so there are a lot of cultural, societal gatherings and things that you'll probably be dealing with if you're in America or in the United States. So you might be asked to a 4th of July barbecue or a parade or something like that, and you might have to have conversations. If you're eating food and sharing food with someone, you're going to be sharing, back and forth talking. So it helps to know how to handle those situations. So we'll get into those in a minute. Let's talk about the business ones. So business ones, you've got formal situations and you've got informal, and then you've got casual situations. So the formal situation would be if you're in an interview or if you're having a meeting with your client or your manager or something on that vein. And then those are, and then, if there's an event, a company meet, a company-wide meeting or an awards ceremony or something, those are more formal situations. So you need to know what your company, sort of the etiquette and what manners are expected within those situations for your company. And every company has its own culture. It's usually based on traditional American manners and etiquette. So that's something you can easily look up. And I would suggest, Emma, I'm not 100% sure on the exact URL, but Emily Post. She was a writer, and she had a newspaper series. I think it was in the 1920s, potentially earlier than that, but definitely the 1920s. And she was the ultimate authority on manners in the United States. And so you can go to your library and get Emily Post's etiquette. I forget the exact name of the book, but Emily Post, Post. Definitely start looking into that. They do have a website. The manners are, the website obviously brings you more like ultra modern manners, but it's still good to look at the older ways of doing things because, again, you're going back to the roots of the culture and the societal norms in the culture as far as how we treat each other. So that's always a great place to look. And I think the further back you go, and the more you learn about the development of different aspects of the culture that you're in, the better understanding you're going to have, and the more information you're going to have to use and to, you know put together in a cohesive manner within you and as how you want to present yourself within that society. um, so definitely look at Emily Post. I'm just going to make a note here to add that. So I will add that link. It's not going to be an affiliate. So with my posts, if it is an affiliate, it will be clearly stated affiliate. Otherwise, I don't generally do affiliates. But Emily Post is a go-to person. I think they even have classes nowadays. You can do classes from them. So it's well worth it, especially in the business world and the professional world, because the better the manners that you have, particularly if you're dining, if you're eating out with anyone above you or anyone in your company, the way you handle yourself at the dinner table says a lot about you in general, and it really showcases your leadership ability, and it's great for promotions because the more elegantly you handle yourself within the different situations, the the more impressive you are to people. So it's really worth doing. And so many business people in the world, certainly in America, do not think about it at all as something that's important. But you take a look the next time you go out to dinner, look around you and just really look at how people eat and notice the different ways that people eat. And some people just stick their face in the plate and they're just all over it, digging into the food and not really paying attention. Other people, the manners are kind of average. And then other people, their manners are just a little better. And it's not that the person is better, but the manners are more respectful. And just watch the difference. Watch how the people around them act and react. And, watch the waiters and waitresses' faces, things like that. Watch how people react to the behavior of the people around you and learn from that. So, anyway, that was a long tangent, but it's an important one, especially if you're looking to get ahead in the business world. So, those are some things. So like I said, interviews, that is a situation where you're going to need to be confident in speaking. You've got your peer-to-peer speaking, your conversations, the person sitting at the desk next to you, that's a more casual type of conversation in the United States, certainly. Um, there isn't the hierarchy and that there are in other cultures. You're also going to have supervisors and clients on the telephone. You need to learn how to be confident speaking on the telephone. Especially, there are so many customer service jobs that you could easily be getting, and you need to be confident speaking your English on the telephone. And then what was the other one? I said meetings and events. Okay, so the telephone was an interesting one. Okay, so social situations. So you've got the more casual ones. Well, I shouldn't even say that. Each type of situation has a formal and a casual experience. So I have down here friends and friends of friends, and then strangers. So, but you're still going to be in casual and formal situations. So you need to know what's expected within each type of situation. And therefore, if you know what's expected, you'll know, okay, wait, I don't have that. I'm not comfortable with that. I need to learn that, or I need to practice that. Um, so I would say, let me just keep going. So then you have dating and meeting new people. Those are situations that you're going to be dealing with. You're going to have confidence in speaking English. So again, figure out what you're comfortable with, what makes you comfortable, what makes you uncomfortable, what skills you feel confident in, and what skills you feel um, you don't have the confidence in them. Um, and then that way, once you can assess that, then you know where you need to fill in the blanks and get better so that you can be more confident. And you'll also know, okay, I'm okay on that. I can work on that and get better at it, but I need to focus on this first. And you can also plan. A really great tip for any of these situations is to, all right, think about the types of things that might be asked of you. What are the conversations that you might have? And prepare, learn how to speak within those types of conversations. So in America, we love to talk about the weather, especially if we have nothing else to say to the person that we're with. And that happens a lot at business functions and stuff in the office. We don't tend to become close friends with a lot of people, and certainly not in the office. That may be changing as the newer generations are coming in. But really, we tend to keep our work life and our private life separate. So in the office, you're not going to be necessarily talking a lot about your all the details of your family. You might say, "Oh, my daughter graduated the other day, or my son just learned to say, his first sentence, or things like that. But you're not going to get really deeply personal. So um, you can practice on different topics that you can talk about without getting into all sorts of detail. If you're at a party, or say you're going to a cookout for the 4th of July, one of the tips I love to give, because it's not only is it super helpful for you as the language learner, but it's also just helpful to the person running the party. Um, is I always ask, I ask, okay, is there anything you need me to bring? And then you can get talking on that. So sometimes at a cookout, people bring things. Many times at a cookout, people will bring over a dish, or napkins, or silverware, or maybe you're not asked to, but it's a nice gesture to do it. To bring over, oh, I know you've got everything covered, but I know things can get crazy, so I brought over extra napkins just so you could have them. Things like that. Something thoughtful. Do something thoughtful for the person um, who's hosting the party. Um, you can also put together a set of questions that you can ask people that focus on them and that allow them to talk about themselves. And if you can train yourself in any of the situations to really focus on things that you can ask that show you care about the person in front of you, and that you're not looking to be entertained or anything like that. Because there are some people who like to just have all the attention. And so, they make people always ask them about themselves, but they never ask about other people. And if you can be a person who asks about other people and gets conversations started about other people, and is and in America, one of the biggest huge question that people always ask is, oh, what do you do for a living? um, you can take that beyond. If someone says that, I always like to ask about hobbies, or I like to ask about um, don't put people on the spot about their job, because they might be unhappy in their job. They might be embarrassed about their job. They might, you know, they might not like they might have been forced to, go into accounting because their father was an accountant and his father was an accountant, but really they want to be a musician. So I try not to ask about jobs unless they bring it up. And then I ask questions related to what they've just told me. Um, and that I find super helpful. And it really does help you to be more confident when you're speaking English, because it, it's not, it, and it, because it helps you to lead the conversation rather than wonder what's coming at you. What are they going to ask me now? You can ask the questions. You can be in charge, in a good way, in a kind and caring way. So that's a big tip of mine. Um, and then, so holidays, traditions, family gatherings, formal, casual. So again, here you need to know about the etiquette and manners, and also learn about the event. So for the 4th of July, Independence Day, find out about the event that people are celebrating. Find out the history behind it. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to become a scholar of it, but just find out as much as you can about it. And then, if you have questions, keep them in mind. And if it's appropriate, then you can ask them when you're talking to people. But have an understanding when you're going in. If you're invited to a Super Bowl party, or, March Madness, which is basketball here in America, or the Stanley Cup, which is hockey. And what am I missing? The World Series for baseball. Um, just look at it a little bit. Try to find out about the game. Try to maybe watch old games, listen to the terminology. Learn some vocabulary based around that event, and that will help you. And if you've tried to watch the game and you don't understand it, then bring those questions with you, and say, "Oh, I was trying to watch it and I didn't understand this. Why did they do this?" So it shows that you're interested, and it becomes a conversation rather than a monologue where one person has to do all the talking. And I think you'll find that if you can then start putting yourself in a position to make yourself a conversationalist, where it's a back and a forth, where it's, I really care about what we're talking about, then you're going to find that people are going to want to talk to you. They're going to like talking to you, whether your English is perfect or not, because you're an interesting person and you're interested in them. So that is another super way to help yourself to be able to speak confidently in English at whatever your level is, because you're going to have the stuff behind you. The focus is not going to be on you and your language. You're taking that focus out of the equation. You're making it not even an issue, because wherever you are, people are going to want to talk to you. So those are some really huge tips that I have found are super helpful. Um, okay, so let us move on to the final thing of, here's just 3 ways that you can help yourself to speak more confidently in English. I said this last week too. Go to your local library. Talk to your librarian. Your librarian, not only he or she may or may not have a ton of time to talk to you, but their job is to help you. And they want to help you. They know so much. They have so many resources at their fingertips. They know what's happening, where it's happening, when it's happening. And so so you can say, you can ask your librarian, do you know of any events, like maybe you like cooking, or maybe you like woodworking, or maybe you want to learn more about the computer and how to talk about it in English. You can say, I'm trying to find more opportunities to use my English in this area. Do you have any suggestions? Is there any event that might be happening? Ask them, ask them, ask them. They will have an answer for you. And if they don't have it, they'll say it, and they'll say, but I'll look it up and I will get back to you. And they will look it up and they will get back to you. So your library is a huge source for so many areas that deal with your English fluency. Plus, it's a great place to just go work sometimes. Sometimes you need the quiet, but you don't want to be, but you still want to be around people. So maybe a coffee shop isn't quite the place. Go to your library. You still have people around, but it's a quiet place to go. So, the other thing is that you can take a class in anything. You could take an effective communications class to learn how to be better at communicating in general, um, and just challenge yourself to commit to speaking up and asking questions and using your language. But so you'll be not only getting the practice in a comfortable situation, but you'll also get the help that you need to be able to get that message across in a way that people will want to receive it, and receive it better than before. And then the other thing is, just challenge yourself to meet one new person. I like to say a week, but that might be too much for you. So make it a month or every other week. Let's meet a new person. Take your office if you're at work. Just, there's so many people in the office, and in the United States, we don't necessarily talk to each other a lot. We'll walk down the hall and not say hello. So, which has always perplexed me because we're such, in so many ways, we're such a friendly people. So, but ask, meet one new person. If there's someone there's a new person on your team, go up to that person and introduce yourself. And hey, do you want to go for coffee at lunchtime or whatever? Eat with me at lunch or anything like that. But commit to a particular period of time or period, um, that you will meet a new person within that time frame. And I think you're going to find that that's super helpful because, again, it's a one-on-one, it's informal, it's totally casual. And so there's not a lot of stress around it. And again, if you're an introverted person, then that allows you to keep things manageable for yourself and not have to expend too many of your coins, but still gain that confidence, give you something of value in the meantime. So, all right. I think that covers it for today. So, really, I think today is just all about how can you prepare yourself to have as many skills, conversational skills, as we say, under your belt, um, stored away in your toolbox, as it were, so that when the time comes, you're going to say, "Oh, great! I've got my toolbox. I'm good to go." So I think that's what this is more about, um, because if you're prepared, you're not surprised. Okay, so all right, you have a wonderful week, and I will see you same time next week. All right, you have a great one. Bye bye.